Hello, everyone. I am Joan Turner, resident artist at the Drake Council on Aging, and I am here with another stupendous tutorial. Okay, so this time we're going to do this Valentine's heart. I'm actually recording this in February of 2022. So this is a mandala, a dotted mandala. Okay, so you should have received in your Drake It Art kits a wooden piece like this, but it's actually in the shape of a heart like this. Okay, so I actually have it resting on here so it can dry. Okay, so your heart, take the tag off the back, all right, and it also has a kind of a tag or something to hang it by, going through the hole here. Take that off. Take that off so that you don't end up painting it. Just put it somewhere where you're not going to lose it. Okay. And if you want to, while I'm talking to you, you can actually go ahead and paint this black. You are going to need black paint, red paint, your favorite color red is this my favorite color, and white paint. All right, so you're only going to need those three colors. So while I am talking to you, your heart will need two coats of black. Okay, so it'll need two coats of black paint on it. So while we're talking, let's go ahead and do that so that it actually can dry. All right, so I will tell you that beside the paint, okay, so I'm actually going to paint this as I'm talking to you. All right, and again, this actually I had one coat of black on it. Put another one. Put two coats on. Sometimes you might miss a spot, whatever. So put two coats on it. Let it dry. I actually did the back as well because I like it to have a nice finished look to it. All right, so beside the heart, again, take the tag off, take the hanging thing off of there. That little looks like a little burlap piece of thingamajigger, and black, red, and white. And this is going to be a dotted mandala. So I'm actually going to have these little plastic shot glasses that I got from the dollar store. So I'm actually going to right there, and I will show you what that looks like. Okay, so it's just sitting there and the cup is underneath so that it can air dry. And we're using acrylic paints, which dry really, really fast. So we're gonna let that dry. Make sure you have two coats. If you need to stop the TV or stop the YouTube, whatever it is that you're watching this on, go ahead and stop it. And I know I sound like a broken record, but if you're kind of been going along with these tutorials, um, if I'm going too fast for you, slow it down, stop it, pause it, do whatever, and then take your time and just kind of catch up with what I'm doing. If I am going too slow for you, do not go ahead of me. All right. If you go ahead of me and then we get to a part that I'm just doing and you already did and it didn't come out right, then you're kind of stuck and trying to fix it. So I'm going to say be patient and wait for me. Okay, so if I go too slow for you, which is sometimes the case, everyone paints at a different speed, just hold off and wait for me. Okay, this is a dotted mandala. If you actually have dotting tools, and they kind of look like this, they're actually nail. You use them to make nail decorations and stuff like that. And you can get them like at the drugstore, the dollar store. You can get them online, certainly. Okay, if you don't have dotting tools, and if you only do these on occasion, there's no reason why you would have dotting tools. I actually have, before I bought dotting tools, I actually made my own. The dotting tools are not expensive. However, if you buy mega amounts of art equipment, it can get pricey. So I'm gonna, yay. Okay, I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if you'd be able to see me. All right. So I actually made my own dotting tools. Okay. Now for dotting tools, these are just regular knitting needles, but they're different sizes. The points are different sizes, and I can use them to dot with. Um, Pencils, okay. Point of the pencil is a good dotting tool. And this is kind of a muted or kind of flat edge, but you can make a very sharp point on your pencil and get really, really tiny pencils. You can use this side of the pencil to make dots as well. This is a skewer for shish kebab, okay. Pointy on one side and flat on the other. And some dots are really quite large, so you can actually make your own dotting tools, and you can make them as big as you want. So I just took a pencil, an unsharpened pencil, and I super glued this wood piece to it. But I also have super glued a quarter, a dime, a nickel, a penny, okay, so that you can have all different size dotting tools. And sometimes you could, if you wanted a really tiny, tiny dot, use a toothpick. Okay, use a toothpick. Use the back of your paintbrush. Okay, here's the brush part. This is the back. So, and you have different size paintbrushes, and you can see I've used this one more than a couple of times, but you can use the backs of them. Okay, so this picture, you should have it in your art kit if you got a art kit from the DCOA, which is the Drake Council on Aging. You should have one. If you did not pick up a kit and you just have your own art supplies and whatnot, you can take a still of this. Someone said they actually took a snapshot of the screen right then and there, and you can, have it on your phone. If you get an email newsletter from DCOA, this picture will be in there as one of the tutorials. And so you can actually get it from there as well. So they're very available. Always have paper towels nearby. I always keep some cotton swabs nearby. And besides being easy to do like little cleanups, like if you get a spot too close or there's something else going on. And besides that, those are good for dotting too. Okay, you can dot with the sharp side and the rounder side. Now these types of cotton swabs, because there's a point on them, people use them to like apply makeup and whatnot. So they're in the makeup section of like the drugstore, Walmart, CVS. But people go, where do you get those pointy ones? Okay, they're in the cosmetic section. They're not in where the regular Q-tips are or the cotton swabs. Okay, so keep some of those nearby. This is a little fan. It's a bladeless fan. So you get lots of, and this is good to have so you can draw your picture. Now, for the most part, I'm pretty patient, like I might start a couple of things and just kind of let one dry while I'm working on another one. My 8-year-old cousin, who takes private lessons and is doing a really awesome job, is not quite as patient. So I give her this because it gives her control a little bit. And so she'll do this and Auntie Jen, and I said, yeah, just keep going. And so she'll do this and her picture dries a lot faster. And plus, she's not just sitting there watching it, she's actually doing something, which is important if you're 8 years old. Okay, so the other things that you will need is a palette or somewhere to put your paints. Now, the other thing is this squishy bottle. This is one of my favorite dotting tools because it squishes like this. And when you go ahead and dot with it, it's actually kind of fun. All right. We'll stop right there. Water. You definitely need water. And I always kind of do more than one bowl so that I can have a really clean dish of water. And the first time I go to clean a brush or whatnot, I put it in one bowl and kind of get the heavy stuff off. And then I go to a second bowl, which is a little bit cleaner. So you can use a paper plate as a palette. I also if in fact you are going to dot on a regular basis, it's nice to kind of have these little containers. And again, you can use the dollar store shot glasses or anything on that idea actually. Um, and when you're dotting, it's a little bit easier than to have, the paint spread out on a paper plate. But I have many times used a paper plate. So it's not that it doesn't work. You can also use, at the dollar store, I just one of my favorite places. They have deviled egg plastic dish, and those are like little indentations where you would put the cooked eggs, and those make great palettes. Okay, so anything like that, or a paper plate is excelente. Right? You will need a ruler or some kind of straight edge. Okay. And mine is not quite dry yet, but that's okay. That's okay. Hold that thought. I'm gonna go get a ruler. Okay, so the ruler is because we want to find the middle of our heart, which is really, really easy to do because the middle is right there and goes down here. Now, what do you want to use to actually make a guideline? I have a watercolor pencil, and the reason I use a watercolor pencil is because it's water activated. And when I go ahead and finish this, then I can just just dampen a paper towel or a sponge and just wash off my guidelines, right? You could use a regular graphite pencil, but a watercolor pencil or a piece of chalk or a chalk pencil. Chalk is excellent. That would be my second choice. And actually, it probably comes off even easier than, say, a watercolor pencil, right? So I think we have everything. I took my little tag off over here. I gave 2 coats of black paint on this side, and I know I still need to do another one right here. And whatever was on my table is now on the back of this. So I'm going to go ahead and just wipe off my table. I mean, we just had an art class in here, and I didn't really do a very good cleanup. I just kind of moved stuff out of the way and made some room. Okay, so this is the side that has 2 coats on it right here. All right, and if you don't have your hot cocoa, go and get it. That's the most important part of the tutorial. And this really hot cocoa. Okay, so I am going to reposition us so that you can see what's going on here. This is my new mic down here. Let me see if I can move it out of the screen, and hopefully you can. Just got paint on my new mic. That's okay. Okay, let me see how close. Get it? Okay, and let's move this a little bit this way. That's not too bad. I think I can get it even further out of the picture. Good, good, good. Okay, so I think now you can see me. You can also see my art table. Right, so we do a lot of art in this room. Okay, now I do have some dotting tools. I'm not use them, but you want to line up whatever you're using for tools into large, medium, medium, small, small, whatever sizes you have, go ahead and get them together. Okay, have your hand out nearby because in between what we're doing every now and then, you might want to just kind of look at it as a reference. Okay, so I can put that like right here so I can see it. I'm going to take my ruler. Here's my ruler. And now I'm going to place it right in the middle. Um, put on your glasses if you need to, so that you can actually see. That always helps. Okay, so in the middle and to the point. Okay, so and while I'm thinking of it, there's the hole that you took the hanging material out of. Okay, when you paint it, don't cover up the hole, okay? And if you do cover up the hole, use a toothpick or something to reopen it. So let's move these guys out of the way. And I'm going to go ahead and make my straight line so I can see right where the middle is. And I'm going to go as light as I can. Obviously, I still want to be able to see it. So, but I did not put a lot of pressure on my pencil. So you can barely see it, but you can see a very faint line there. And can you see it? You can see it. Alrighty. So I just need to know where the middle is, and that's actually a good place to start. I mean, we could put a center so that you know exactly where the center is. At its largest, let me see. So this heart measures 8 inches from top to bottom. Okay, so if I go down 4 inches, I'll be at the middle. Okay, so 4 inches is here. Where's my little pencil? Okay, 4 inches is here. Okay, is it really there? It's kind of too low. Okay, 8 inches, 7.5 inches. Let's go down. Let's go down 3 inches. Because I think that's where I want to put my middle part. 3.5. Let me see. If I come down 3.5, I'm right here. Okay, so let's come down like 3.25. Okay, so 3 is right here. 3.25 is right there. Is that where I want to go? Okay, let's try 3.25. See if that's good. If I put my dot right here, they're going to be in my middle. I'm going to say go down 3.25. Okay, so I measured down here to here, which is about 3.25. It's actually 8 inches from here to here. That's a lot more shallow at this part of the heart. So we want it to, let's raise it a little bit. So 3.25 is right there. Okay. So give yourself a little guide dot, if you will, and that's where we're going to place the very first dot. So move your ruler out of the way. Okay, I'm going to put my pencil over yonder, and now I'm going to get my paints ready. Now I said to you, you want red, black, and white, so we used the black already. We're probably not going to use any more. You might need some touch-ups at the end, but for the most part, we're using it for the background. By the way, if you don't have a DCOA kit, you can do this design on a canvas, a piece of wood. You can do it on anything. Okay, so be inventive. If you don't have a DCOA kit, but you have your own paints and major your own dotting tools and so on and so forth. Don't get locked into anything. You can paint on anything. You are the creator. Okay. So as I look at this picture, I can see that the middle dot is actually pink. And so if you have pink paint and you want to use pink paint, by all means, go ahead and use pink paint. However, I'm going to mix my paint. Oh, I should have cleaned this off a little bit better here. As I say, I was doing art class a little bit earlier. Okay, and then I wonder why I can't keep my nails clean. All right, so I'm going to take some white and some red, and I'm going to mix my own paint. Okay, so and we are going to use just plain old red too. So you can actually, whether using a plate or a little container like this, put some red in there. Let me take this. Acrylic paint, if you don't use it too much, it can get kind of dry. And I actually use them quite a bit, and they still kind of get dry, especially around the cap if you break it like this, or any air gets in there, it can kind of dry out. Okay, so I have my red in here. Now I'm going to take some white, okay, and shake them up. And I'm going to put the white in a different spot. Whoa. Okay, see all of that, how dry it is? You can actually pull it right off of there. So let's put that over here. Yes, over there. And then I'm going to put quite a bit of white too, because we'll end up using it. Don't put so much that it dries out on you. Okay. Let me see, brush. Let me find you need something to mix this. You could use a brush. You could use one of the cotton swabs, anything your heart desires. All right, so we want to mix a pink. This is kind of a light pink here. This is kind of a darker pink. And before we start, let me tell you that you don't have to use this color scheme at all. You could pick 3 other colors. You could make the background white and do black dots. You can make it purple and do blue dots or whatever you want. So you're completely in control here. Let me fix myself here. So you don't even have to stick to this color scheme. I'm going to because I like it. All right, so I want kind of a light pink. So I'm going to pick up some of this white paint and put it in a different compartment here. Okay, and then I'm going to just pick up a little bit of the red and I'm going to mix it together. Okay, so again, if you have pink paint that you like and you want to use it, go right ahead. A lot of times I like mixing my own colors, and that way I get exactly the shade that I want. Okay, so that's a pretty cool shade, and I'm not going to mix whole bunches of it because I doesn't look like I'm going to use too much of it. Okay, so this brush, I'm going to clean the excess paint off of and put it in my water. Okay, if you're using brushes and or whatever you're using to dot with, when you're not using them, put them in the water because once the acrylic paint dries on there, it really is stuck on there. I'm going to use not my biggest uh, dotting tool, okay, but the next size down. So if this is your biggest, use the next size down. I'm going to dip my tool in here, and that middle dot, I'm going to go straight down like that and have a middle dot. That's so exciting. It's like, you start out with this kind of blank slate and then it gets really cool. Right, so if you look at your handout, and I'm going to clean this up, I'm even going to dip it in the water and clean it off, okay, and put it back over here. So the next thing here, actually, a little white dots. There's some small white dots So we're going to do the small white dots first. Okay, so you want maybe the flat end of a pencil. All right, and we're going to do when you do this, I'm dipping into my white here, and it's important to get it straight. So I'm going to do one north, one south. It's been a while since I've done dotted mandala, so I'm kind of excited about this. Okay, then I'm going to dip again, and I'm going to put one west and one east. Okay, so that's, and the reason that we do it that way is to get the spacing as accurately as possible. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and put a dot in between them, and I will show you what I'm doing. See, there's one, dipping again, and now I'm simply putting dots in between the first 4 dots that I put on there. And see how the spacing is nice, because I first of all put the 4 dots on, and they're pretty evenly spaced because I did one north, one south, one west, one east, and then I just put a white dot in between each of those. So the spacing on these is pretty good, and I got them as close to the middle dot as I could without actually touching it. Okay, so now I'm going to switch, in this case, I'm going to clean off your dotting tool, no matter what you're using, and then switch to a smaller dotting tool. Or if you used a eraser part of a pencil, now switch to the point part. And if you have 2 pencils, one with a kind of dull edge, then I would say use the dull edge. Okay, so looking at that handout, there are little dots in between my big dots over here. Okay, so again, dipping into the white, I'm going to put little dots in between my big dots. Okay, so the one in the middle is pink, and these little guys are actually white. All right, take your time, okay, especially if this is the first time you're doing a dotted mandala, okay? So, I mean, I have done them before, but like I said, it's been a while, and I'm just going to take my time here. Okay, see how the little dots are in between the bigger dots? Okay, so now I'm going to clean this one off, right? And even your pencil point, don't let the paint dry on there. Put it in some water real fast, and then get a paper towel, clean it off. Okay, so now if I look at this, we have some a little bit darker pink dots. We did this dot, and hold off on the little white dot in the middle of the pink dot. But we did this big pink dot, and then we did these little round white dots. Now we want to do these pink dots, and again we have big and small. Okay, so we're going to use the big and small again, and we're going to use the same method. North, south, west, east, or east, west, whichever way makes your boat float. And we're going to use a dotting tool that's a little bit bigger than our white ones. So you can choose. You choose which tool you want. Okay, I am going to, gosh and gee whiz. Okay, maybe this one. And before I do that, let me tell you that I am going to go with a little bit darker pink. Okay, so if I look at these little pink dots over here, um, they're a little bit darker than my mid dot, but not much. Actually, they're pretty close. So if you don't want to mix a new, you don't have to. Okay, so totally up to you. So I am going to see. I'm going to use this, and again, I'm going to go ahead and use the pink that I mixed. And I am going to do the north and south thing again. Okay, take a look. All right, and then I'm going to put one over here on the West Side Story, and one over here. Ta-da! Okay, and so now okay, I'm going to check this again. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do what I did before, which is put dots in between my 4 dots. Ta-da! Okay, looking good. Looking good. So I might even be able to get another one in there, maybe, or 2 little ones. What do I want to do? All right, I am going to put this in the water and clean off this tool. And now I'm going to go and put uh, smaller dots. So you whatever tool looks like it's going to be a little bit smaller than what you were using works. Okay, so I am going to put these in, see what's happening. Oh, mandala is growing. Don't you love it? Okay, I'm getting about 2 dots here before I have to redip my tool. Okay, and one of them is a little bit small, so I'm going to re-dot it so that they're close to the same size. Okay, that's what we're looking like. Okay, so cleaning off my tool in the water and then clean it off, put it aside. And now where we are, okay, is we did the first dot, we did the row of white and the first row of pink. Now I'm going to go daka daka with my pink. So this is what I mixed. This is the white pink. I'm going to pick up the red and mix it right in there. And this is going to give me a deeper shade of pink than what I already had on there. Okay, move that side. Okay. So now I'm going to choose a dotting tool that's a little bit bigger than the pink dots that I already have on there. Okay, so we're going to figure out what that is. I think it's this one. Okay, so choose. So we're on now 1, 2, a second row of pink dots. And these are going to have what they call top dots eventually. I'm going to put my brush in the water. And again, going to kind of do the same thing with my 4 points so that I know I'm getting them even. And I'm looking at it, and do I want that a little bit redder in there? Okay, so what I decided is that the shade of pink I'm using is very close to the shade of pink that's already on there. So I'm actually going to add even more red to it so that I get a deeper shade yet. Okay, so picking up another dollop of red and mixing it in here. Okay, so get a shade that is pinker than what you've been using. Obviously make sure it's something that you like. Okay. So let me do this. All right, so now I'm going to take this. I'm going to clean the paint that was on there off of there. Now I'm going to dip to this pink. And that actually is redder and looks beautiful. It's still pink, but it's a deeper shade of pink. So I'm actually going to dot over the one that I already have on there. Let it dry for a few minutes here. Or I could take Gianna's toy. I'm going to redo this one because I can see the black through it. Okay, so if your paint is on the thin side, it can be a little bit easier to apply. But if it's too thin and you can see the black through it, then just go ahead and redot it. Mucho better. There we go. Okay, so this is what I look like, and this is a little bit of a darker value here. So let me see if I can get a little bit more pink together here. All right, and again, I'm doing the same thing. I am on my second row here. So I am going to put these dots, okay, in between my 4 dots. And again, I'm getting about twice before I have to re-dip. Yeah, okay, liking it, liking it. I'm actually have enough room to put another dot in between these. I'm going to go ahead and do it. Okay, and I'll show you what I'm doing. Okay. So I'm actually putting another dot in between the dots that are already there. So you can do that. You can skip that part. You are the creator. Okay, so let's see here. Okay. And it's always fun when I'm doing this. I usually kind of turn the radio on and listen to my favorite music. Okay. When doing these tutorials, sometimes the background music can be a little disruptive, so we don't. But you can. One of my favorites is Rod Stewart. I drive my students crazy. I'll say, "Oh, it's time for Rod Stewart," and they're like, "Ah." Not because they don't like Rod Stewart. I think they just get tired of hearing him, which I totally don't understand. Look, look, yes, I say, look, yes. Okay, this I'm going to put into the water and clean it off. Don't let it dry on your tools. And then pick a pencil point, okay? And we're going to use the same paint here and do little dots in between here. See my little dots? Right there. Okay, so little dots. Okay, and again, going too fast, put me on hold, pause. I'm going too slow, wait for me. Thank you. The other thing is, if if you like me and you kind of like to snack, like these, this piece, can take a couple of hours, whatever. And if you're used to kind of snacking or having something nearby, that's fine. But just make sure that it doesn't get on your picture. are my dots. There they are. So now I'm going to clean off this tool. I'm going to bring, which one did I use here? This one, I think. Okay, I'm going to bring out one just a little bit. So you can make small adjustments or corrections on this. And I'm looking at this dot over here is kind of in close. So I'm just going to kind of dot over the top of it a little bit and extend it just a little bit to get my circle kind of where I want it, which is very cool. I'm going to clean off my tool and put it over yonder. And now, let's see, let's clean off this brush. So we have 1, 2, so we have the small dots, and now we have one last row of dark pink dots. Okay. And they're a little bit bigger than the dots that we've been using. So you want to choose a tool that's even a bit bigger. Now they're kind of the same value or hue as what we've been using here, but I actually don't have enough paint here to do that, so I'm going to actually make myself some more. Okay, mix it up, and I can tell I'm pretty close because all the paint that's around it. Okay, so if you're using a plate to do this, mix up just a bit extra because it does have a tendency, the plate, unless you're using a plastic coated plate, has a tendency to take up some of the paint. Okay, so go to, let me see, this one is bigger. So I'm gonna try and go 1 to the third row of pink dots, and they're bigger than the one we just did. So choose a tool that is just a little bit bigger. Okay, so that can be the eraser part of the pencil. It can be one that you made, perhaps. Okay, it can be knitting needles. It can be the dauber, which is always great fun. Okay, so I'm going to go in here and I'm going to do, once again, my my north-south, because I want to really keep things kind of straight in here. Okay, same thing here. I want to keep this relatively straight here. As straight, actually, as you can make it. I'm going to bring this across here and do that. Okay, that's what we end up with. And that's a pretty good mix. It's pretty close. Okay, and then go in between. Line them up. Line them up, baby. There we go. And I'm going to line them up this way. Line it up. Line her up. Okay. And I'm going to do the same thing with this I did before, and that is put another dot in between each one. Okay. And line those babies up. Get them nice and straight. The more lined up they are, the better you're going to like it. Okay. One more here and here. Good. This is starting to fill up beautifully. Okay, now in here, there's 2 little dots in between them, in between each of the bigger ones. Clean off your tool. Okay, take a smaller tool, flat side of the pencil, whatever works for you. Using the same paint, I'm going to put two dots here. Let me do another one. And one more. Okay, see the two dots in between? That's these guys right here. So let's continue. Put them there. And that looks kind of cool. And a dotted mandala has lots of dots. And it's actually very relaxing. I can sit here and do these for hours on end. And again, it just feels very relaxing to me. And students who do these totally agree. And there's no reason for you to feel rushed doing these at all. Like I said, slow them down if you need to, whatever it takes. Yeah. So these are my dots. And I see one of my dots here, like I said, is you can kind of see the black through it. So I'm going to kind of fill her in a little bit. Okay, so you have a little bit of play here. I mean, okay, see, that looks much better. This is what my heart is beginning to look like. Okay, so now we're ready for big reds. Okay, so take your biggest tool, whether it's this one or you have dotting tools, whatever it might be, okay, and dip it in the red. Now this is going to be the biggest dot that I have. Okay, and I am going to run out of room here. Okay, let me change this. Change it up. Okay, so in the end, do whatever is best for your piece. And I'm deciding that if I use this biggest tool here, I'm going to go right over the hole to hang it. So I'm going to switch it up a little bit. Use this one, okay, which is the next size down for me, but it will save me from hitting that top. Line yourself up. Go as close as you can without actually hitting the other dots. Okay, line her up. Nice. And then same thing, we're going to put, we have 1, 2 this way, and we're going to put more on the edges. Line it up. Okay, I'm going to line this one up this way. Okay, and see how that one didn't come out fully formed? Put more paint on your dotting tool and carefully re-dot it. And let me go over this one and this one. If you're using a really big dotting tool, and I might need more red in here, having enough paint on the dotting tool is also important, obviously. Okay, put the cover back on. And now we're ready to re-dip. Make sure your hand is clean because now you're going to retouch this. And the less cleanup you have to do afterwards, the better. Okay, here's this way. Fix this one a little bit more. Coming across this way. Huh? Beauty. She's a beauty. Okay, so now I'm going to do I want to do one in between? 1, 2. I'm going to do one in between. Okay. And if you start to see some black between your dots, okay, you don't have enough paint on your dotting tool, you can let it dry for a few seconds and then redot it. That will work. Okay, and if you're consistently getting them, then you're not putting enough paint on your tool. What do you think? What do you think? I'm getting excited. I really like it. Okay, I'm very, I keep myself entertained very well. All right, so clean these tools up. Don't make a mess of these tools. Okay? Yeah, if in fact you keep them clean, you can use them again without ruining them. Okay, whether they're homemade or not. Okay, just keep them clean. You can reuse them. Now, if you look really closely, use the smallest point that you have, which is probably a sharpened pencil point. If you look really closely, there's little red dots right around these bigger dots. So again, make sure you have enough paint. And I will go and do one of these and show you what it looks like. Okay, here's one side. All right, and it's right here. Can you see that okay? Oh, yeah, you can see it. Okay, so I'm going to turn it around now and do the other side. And these dots actually go all the way around. So you can do the whole north-south thing with them, and it'll come out marvelous if you do. But these are actually close enough together that you don't feel like I need to do that. But if you do, absolutely do it because you don't want to do all these dots and then not have it look awesome. Okay, it should look awesome. That's why you're doing it because it's fun and it looks awesome. There it is. So now we're going to do that to all of those red ones. Okay, and use your paint. It dries out really fast, so it's a good idea to add it as you need it rather than put it all out and just let it dry. Okay, so have some cocoa and try not to spill it like I just did. And do your red dots. Okay. One more here, more there. Voila. Oh, this is, you know what? These are some of my favorite colors in here. And this is going to be, this is going to be a nice piece. I like it already. Try the north, south, east, west thing. Yeah, see how I do. Not too bad. See where it's coming out. Awesomeness. Okay, and actually, if I see any like light spots in my big dots, I'm adding a little bit more paint to it. So I'm doing the north-south and then putting 4 dots in between. And that actually is working out even better. 3 and 4. Okay, so actually doing I'm doing a north and the south, east, and the west. Okay, like so. So right there. And then doing 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, in between each one. And that actually has been working out pretty good. 2, 3, 4. Okay. So that looks like it's the way to go. But again, any way that you feel comfortable is actually okay. Okay, so these dots came out a little funky there. Okay. Okay. Oh, very nice. You're gonna, when you see this all done, you are gonna be so excited. And when people look at it, you're gonna say, they're gonna say, you did that? And you're gonna be like, yeah, I did it. Two, three, four, 1, 2, 3, 4. And as you're, there's actually a technical name for this. It's called walking the dots because you're kind of walking the dots around a shape. In this case, another dot, a big dot. So it's actually called walking the dots. And if you haven't noticed already, you will notice that as you walk these dots around the big dots, they actually get smaller in size as the paint runs out on the tool. Okay, so you actually can control that as well, which at this point, because we're just kind of beginners in this tutorial, we won't do that right at this moment. We are going to attempt it in the bigger white dots, but let's get used to this first. Make it happen. Make it happen, baby. Okay. And again, if you see any of your big dots as they're drying, you can let them finish drying and then just kind of re-dot over them. Or you can add while it's still kind of wet. Either way will work. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, just show you what I have so far. Okay, all these are done here. All right, so I'm going to keep on going. Needless to say, it takes longer to do the small dots than it does to do the big dots. Okay, keep going. If in fact you need to take a break, now I'm extremely, even though I haven't done these for a long time, these $1 million, 2, 3, 4, I am very used to sitting down and doing art for very long periods of time. So you can get somewhat used to that. If in fact you need a break because you are leaning over a piece of artwork um, for a while, so if you need to take a break, by all means, take a break. Get yourself some hot cocoa, take a break, play a word game for a few minutes, walk your puppy. Okay. Oh, I only have 4 more dots to do. And then after you take a little break, you can come right back to this with a fresh eye and all that good stuff. Okay, so there's no, I'm going to be very consistent here so that we get this done in one video, but you do not have to do that. And like I said, it depends kind of on what you're used to too, and and your physicality. And you wouldn't think that it was an issue really, because you're just kind of sitting here and working. You'd be surprised at how many people can't sit for a while or have a sore back or other issues, and you are leaning over. You are leaning over your work. So the message here is stay within your comfort zone. Okay, piece of artwork, a thing of beauty, and you don't want to be uncomfortable doing it. When someone truly enjoys what they're doing, it kind of shows up in the artwork. At least that's been my experience with students and other artists. I'll look at a picture and I'll say, oh, wow, you can tell they truly enjoy doing this. And when you go and talk to them, they're like, oh, yeah, I was in such a good mood, or I had a blast doing it, whatever it might be. And but if someone, now sometimes students will take on commission pieces because maybe they're just starting out, they need the money so that they can buy more art supplies, or whatever the reason is. So they'll take on a commission piece, and a commission piece within itself, it is not a horrific thing, but typically they have deadlines. I need this by a certain date and or time. Okay, so sometimes I would find myself doing a commission piece because I had to. It was getting close to the time when the client needed the picture. It was a gift. Someone's going to hang this picture in the memorial hall for this person who's retired, whatever it might be. So sometimes, after art class and stuff, I take it out and work on it. And it might be a little bit on the tired side because I was just finishing up a class or so on and so forth. So unless you really have to get something done, it's a present for someone, it's a job that you accepted, take your time. Take your time. Okay. So now all my little dots are done, and so I'm seeing some of these red dots. I'm going to redot because they're looking a little translucent in there. You could use a heavier paint so that you don't have to do that. I like the thinner paints for dotting because I don't like when they leave big mounds of points on there because I do like to top dot them and it can be a little bit difficult to do if they have raised tops. The other thing that you can do is you can actually push the tops down. If you have points on them, well, they're still not really wet, but a little way to actually push it down. Like you use a dotting tool, and that will flatten them out a little bit. Okay, so now the fun begins. We're going to start doing this white around the red. And when I said to you, or I was talking about walking the dots, okay, see how that dot is bigger and they get smaller as they come here? They get smaller as they come here. So that's what we would like to do, okay? So I'm going to get myself some fresh white like this. And I'm actually going to put it in a different place as well. And I'm going to clean it off my hands because, again, I am going to be handling the piece. And if you've had to redo a piece because you messed it up with your fingers and didn't realize you had paint on you, and so you will remember to do it differently in the future. Okay, so this. So now we need to decide what we're going to use for a tool. Now these little red dots are really, really tiny around here. So I'm going to go up one shape or just a tiny bit bigger for these little red dots, but not much bigger, like just a step up, okay? So let me try one and show you what it looks like. Okay, so I'm going to dip into my white. And then I'm going to start here and go. Ah, look. Okay, now see how it gets smaller as it kind of runs out of paint? Okay, so now I'm going to dip again. I'm going to go in the same dot again and do the other side. Okay, so when I redipped, I did this big dot again and then went this way. And the reason I did that is I didn't want these dots to be bigger than these. So if I skip that middle dot and go, then this dot's going to be the same size as that dot. Okay, so that's the reason for that. Also, if you look at your handout, these dots go further down into the red dots. Okay, I am going to stop so I don't go over my red dots. So again, in the end, you always kind of want to do what's best for your picture. Okay, okay, and I'm going in the same big dot again, then down here. Ta-da! Oh my gosh! Wait till you see your pictures. Gonna be excited. I am excited already. Okay, go forth. Go forth and conquer. I have a student who says that all the time. I'll say to her, oh, I'm gonna do this or do that. And she'll say, Joni, go forth and conquer. I'm like, okay, I can do that. Because you're walking the dots on these, and the tool is a little bit bigger, a little bit of a faster moving around. So pretty. And now again, the paint has a tendency to build up on the tool. I'm just going to wipe it off, even though I'm not done doing these. I only did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and the paint kind of builds up on there. So I just wiped it off. Keep on going. Keep on keeping on. Whatever you have room for. Don't be intimidated, especially if this is your first piece. Just have a good time. I don't know if you can hear my little tapping. Okay, let me see here. Again, I'm going too fast. Pause. Pause the recording. Pause the TV. Whatever you're watching this on. I'm going too slow. Wait for me. Okay, so this is what I ended up with. Now you'll see this one I did not do because my hole is right where I would put the white dot. So I'm actually going to put dots because I'm looking at the handout and they kind of did the same thing. So I'm going to put the dots on the sides. Let's see what that looks like. So I think you definitely want some white there. There it is right here. Okay. So if it's a little different, let it be okay. It's okay. Right. So now I'm going to um, use the smaller side and do some of these smaller dots on the other side. And I will show you what that looks like in a moment. And I'm really kind of making these small. I think that they look good going all the way around, but I actually don't have room to go all the way around. So I'm just kind of doing them where I have room for them. So don't be afraid to improvise if you need to. This little guy, let's bring this out. Let's see. And I'm looking at this and thinking that it actually, I like it with the dots kind of going all the way around because the white really kind of intensifies the underneath part. So see how I'm going all the way around there? And I'm just using the very tiny side of this dotting tool because I don't have a whole lot of room there. And typically, if you now we're working from a handout, certainly. So, we're using that as a guide. A lot of times it's going to come out slightly different than the handout. And I'm totally okay with that because I actually think it's better if we have, our own, something original. You do not have to do that. If you like it just the way it is, feel free to just leave it just the way it is. So I love when there's a lot of contrast in the work. And like I say, this white is so very bright that it really is offsetting the red in a way that I really, really like. So I am going to go ahead and follow through with that. Even this guy over here, a little one, it's creating all the problems here. Okay, so maybe I can put one right where that hole is. So these are my dots all the way around dots. Okay, that's what it looks like from far away and close together. So clean off your tool, and I'm going to go ahead, I think, and can you see some of my red? I'm seeing some of the black through there. So I'm actually just going to take my brush, okay, and pick up some of the red paint. Just go right over it. Okay, now you don't have to be that fussy if you don't want to. I just feel like when you're doing your dotting, you actually, even though it's fun, certainly, you're putting a lot of work into it. So for the little bit of extra time that it might take to do something like this, I totally think it's worth it. Okay, and it's relatively easy too. It's more than relatively easy. It is easy. So I'm actually just gonna go over them all. Okay, so let me see here. Take another look. Take another look here. Ta-da. All right. Now, I don't know if you can see where I kind of touched that little dot there. So this is when you whip out that little Q-tip we were talking about here, that little guy. And let me see if I can find where I made. Oh, there it is. There it is. So I'm just going to squeak by here. Okay. All right. And that's also something you could fix at the end with some black paint there. But this is so little that I think we're okay. Now, we are going to top dot. Hopefully you can see this clearly enough. But if you look at this handout, there's a white top dot on the big red ones, which we're going to wait till those dry out. On these dark pink, there's light pink top dots. Okay, and those are probably dry enough to do it now. So let's go ahead and do the outside. Okay, and it really starts with the outside rim here, which is red dots. And again, if you don't, you can use absolutely any color scheme that you want, but I absolutely love the red. Gonna put a little, so we're gonna go all the way around the heart. So I'm going to put out quite a bit of the red, and then you need to choose a side. Okay, now these white dots look the biggest, and they are. Okay, so the white dots are the biggest. Um, the red dots on the inside are smaller than the red dots on the outside, and then the pink ones are kind of, they're not as big as the white, but they're bigger than the red. So I would say start with your small tool for for the outside. We'll do the outside first. But again, the red side dots are smaller. So if you use like the eraser side of your pencil to do this, when you get to the tiny red dots, use the flat point, like not a real sharp pencil, but a flattened point on your pencil. And I think you should be okay. And I have to tell you, even if it's totally different, even if the dots are all kind of big, small, that you're gonna love this. What I found really compelling about this design is it doesn't really seem to be a wrong way to do it. Don't ask me how, but I have a little red speck right there. So that's the kind of thing, where I would fix it after. I don't know if you can see it in the camera. There's a little red dot there where I obviously uh, dripped it on there somehow. Okay, so start somewhere. Okay, and I'm actually going to start here. Okay, I'm going to start right at the point of my heart, right there. And I'm just going to follow the shape of my heart around. Okay, and get them as close as you can without actually touching each other. Okay, and this I can get 1, 2, 3, and then I have to redip. And if you're, depending on what size tool you're using, that might be different for you. But just kind of take note of how many dots you can get, and then you have to kind of redip it. Okay, so that way you're not having some light dots, some big dots, some small dots. Okay. And this, going all the way around here, especially with a small tool like this, will, the paint will most likely build up on the tool. So you will want to clean it off every now and then, especially if you see that some of your dots are starting to come out fatter. It's because the paint has dried on the tool, and now when you dip the tool in the paint, it's actually a wider dot. Okay, so keep an eye on your dots. If you see they're getting big, and even if you don't see they're getting big, perhaps just clean them off. See, look, looky, yay. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and clean this off, better to be safe than sorry. Okay, that dot came out a different size altogether. So if they come out too small, it's really easy to fix them. If they come out too big, it's a little harder to fix them. You might have to wipe them all the way off and then redo them, which if you're doing a dotted mandala, you try really, really hard not to do that. You try really, really hard not to run them together. And that's why it's worth going slow, taking your time, and not sticking your fingers in the paint. Okay? So, see, look. Okay, so I'm going to turn this around. Whether you're doing a dotted mandala or painting a masterpiece or even drawing, okay, so whether you're drawing, painting, you're going to find that your hand has a very small comfort zone. That is to say, whatever you're doing, if you're reaching across something to actually work on it, your hand is outside of its comfort zone and you're not going to be happy with the result. Okay, so if you keep your hand where it's comfortable and move the piece around, you'll make it a lot better. Okay, so again, as close as you can without touching, about the same size, and be consistent. And above all, don't rush yourself. Okay, so as I was doing this, I stuck my hand in the white paint, which is kind of hanging off the edge there. So be cognizant of what you're doing. And the only reason I knew I did it is because the paint is wet and I felt cold on my finger. Okay, so here's one whole side is done. I have to do the other side. So I think, do I want to come up this side or? So remember, just keep your hand in its comfort zone. If your hand is not comfortable, do not force yourself to work that way. You won't be happy with the results. So my hand, I'm actually have one hand on the table and I'm resting my dotting hand on top of this hand. Okay. Now I'm starting to extend my arm, which I'm not sure is a good idea. So I'm going to actually move the piece around. So again, my hand is staying in its comfort zone here. Okay, and painting from that side is a no gonna work for me. So now let's turn it around again. So even if you have to turn it around 5 times, 6 times, whatever it takes, stay in your comfort zone. Please do so. Okay, moving again, right, as I come around the corner. Because as the piece curves and moves away from you, your vision is different. You're seeing it from a different perspective or a different point of view. Okay, and we want these dots to be relatively uniform. We not only want them kind of the same size, we want them the same distance from each other. Now, I'm not measuring them. And that one I should have measured. Okay, so I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, ah, yeah, it's okay, but it really isn't. I'm gonna have to fix it. So let me show you what I did. Okay, see that dot right there, hanging off the picture. So where's my Q-tip here? So I'm gonna take this Q-tip and wipe it off of there. Okay, and I'm going to take the one beside it as well because it's out of line because of what I did. Okay, so now let me show you what it looks like. Okay, see there's a space there where I took those off. So now, as long as the paint is dry, and it is, I can redot them. Okay, there it is, and it's looking better. And sometimes you say, well, okay, it's not that bad. I can live with it. But if it continues to bother you, like I looked at it, I said, it's not bad. And I'm like, so that being the case, go ahead and fix it. Don't leave it because what ends up happening with those is you'll look at it every time you look at it as a finished piece, you'll say, ah, it's nice, but okay. Oh, look, another drip of red here and there. So I have no idea how I'm getting these little spots on here. However, again, I can, with the black paint, you can do a little bit of touch up. Now, sometimes when I do a black background, I will mix a color in with it. Like this one, I would have typically mixed a little bit of red in there so that when you turned it certain ways, you would see like a hint of red in the black. However, when you do that, you have to mix enough paint have for touch-ups. Okay, so if you have a black with a color in it, and say in this case red, and then you go to do a touch-up and use just black, then you're going to see a difference. Okay, so that's why I did not use a color in with my black, because this is a tutorial and I wanted it to be relatively easy to work with. But if I were doing it as, just a regular piece of do it for myself rather than a tutorial, I maybe would have mixed up a colored background, a multicolored background, and then just mixed enough and put it in an airtight container so that I would not have to remix to do a touch up. And you will always have a touch up. Trust me. Okay, so my red is going all the way around. I'm going to be really careful as to not touch it. And the next row is pink. So maybe I'm going to mix more pink. I was going to say there's quite a bit of pink here, but that's not, I'm not sure that will get me all the way across. So let's mix some more. Okay, and these little dishes kind of provide you with a here's my little Q-tip. They provide you with a nice pooling effect. Okay, I'm going to take some white here, put it here, like so, just because I want to mix enough to get me all the way across. Okay, I'm going to put you over here. Okay, and now let's mix this baby. And this can, in this pink area here, you can make it a light pink, you can make it a dark pink, you can make it any color you want, and you are in control of exactly what that looks like. Okay. All right, so for this one, I'm going to use a little bit bigger, but not much. Let me see what I have here that I want to use. Oh, here's one. Going to be a little bit big, and this going to be a little bigger. Okay, so choose one that's a little bit bigger than what you already have on there. And I'm going to try to get the paint off of this brush because quite a bit of it ends up getting on the brush. Okay, brush is going in the water. When you are not using your brushes, put them in the water. Don't let acrylic paint dry on your brushes, because once they're dry, you will just end up throwing them away. There doesn't seem, I haven't found anything that will actually take the dried paint out of a brush. Okay, so again, close as we can get without actually touching. Okay, so there's my second row. We're going to go all the way around. I'm going to rest my hand on the table and then this hand on top of it, because I can't really hold on to my heart because my red dots are still wet. So I'm going as close to my red dots as I can without touching them. And I'm also going as close to the pink dots as I can, also without touching them. So now you have the added, you're really having to function at a higher level here. And these little dots going around the side, they're actually not anyway. So these dots, we're using a bigger tool, and the good part of that is that it should go a little bit faster than your red dots did, except that now you have to be even more careful than you were with your red dots. Ooh, I'm so excited. Look at those dots. Yay. Okay, so don't push it on the side, Jen. There we go. Okay, so again, resting my hand on the table, and then the hand that's doing the dotting is resting on top of the hand that's on the table. Okay, I see a dot, that little black showing through there. Fix it while you see it. If you sometimes in the past, if I saw something like that, I would be like, well, I'll fix it afterwards because there's probably going to be more than one. So I'll just go and fix them all at the same time. It's not a good idea, only because if you don't make like an error or something, you forget all about that one. And you're like, oh, okay. So now I fix them as soon as I see them. Okay, we're getting there. Okay, resting the hand on the table, resting the dotting hand on the table hand. Keep going. Don't stop. Especially if you have a nice rhythm going. And you might not think that's important, but it is. Here we go. And I'm hoping that I actually mixed enough paint here. I certainly thought I did. Okay, I'm halfway. Doing my halfway dot. Okay, so I don't know if you can see this. Really trying really hard not to touch those red dots. Isn't she lovely? Okay, so this paint in here, I'm having a hard time kind of getting at it. So I'm going to kind of push it all together here like that. So it's a little bit easier for me to get. Put this over here. And now that's really puddled in there. Hand on the table, dotting hand on the table hand. Okay, come around as close as you can to the other pink dots and the red dots, but not touching. Precision is the name of this game. Okay, and patience, certainly. Oh, we are getting there. The other options that you have, of course, is you don't have to do this at all. You could have done just the middle. But I have to tell you, um, I think doing the sides gives it a nice finished look. You could, again, choose different color schemes. Like you might say, well, gee, I like the red and the white, but I'm not crazy about the pink. I want to put chartreuse in there. Knock yourself out. I actually, my student slash friend did a mandala workshop, and she told everyone, use whatever colors you want. And, if your dots came out bigger, use less of them. So she was very open to the many different ways that people do things. And at the end of the night, I was looking at what everyone did, and I'll tell you the the variety, the variety of designs and colors that each person was drawn to and stuff is absolutely beautiful. And you would actually not know that the finished pieces came all from the same class because they were also very different and very beautiful. And I think, when people uh, do stuff like that, I like to look at the colors that they chose and maybe why they chose them. When it gives a little bit of insight to their personality. And I'm not sure why, but that absolutely intrigues me. I used to study colors, and you will find with any good color interpretation book that pink means sensitivity, um, white means purity, and red. A lot of people think red means aggressiveness or assertiveness, and I suppose it does a little bit. But what I read in a book and really resonated with me is that red is a rescue color. Like, think about like a fire engine that rushes off, to save someone. So it's like an aggressive or assertive save, like yes, like rushing off in a red fire truck to go save someone. So I really liked that interpretation of the color red. Okay, so when you think about putting them on a heart, you have people who want to rescue the purity of heart and a great deal of sensitivity. Okay, white, right? And the white again is kind of the biggest dot over here. So choose a tip that's even just a little bit bigger, and let's do the same thing. Okay, so I'm going to start right here and rest my hand on the table, and then the dotting hand is resting on the table hand. And I don't know if you can see that, but I'll tell you the white against these dark colors is very beautiful. It's a very beautiful piece. And like I said, I was very drawn to this piece anyway, but now that we're actually doing it, it's rather exciting. And again, these white dots are the biggest dots we're putting on here. And as you can see, it's moving a lot faster. So the slowest dots were the red ones because they were small. The pink ones went a little bit faster. And these white ones, almost halfway there already. Okay, and again, I'm probably getting 3 dots out of one dip. So one might say, "You're a dip." Oh no, they would never say that. Oh, nice. Okay, I'm seeing this dot over here. Looks like I can see a little bit of black through it. I'm going to redot it. So again, my tendency is to kind of fix them or perfect them when I see them so that I don't forget. Because I think, oh, okay, if I forget one, then I forget a second one. I don't want to have it all finished, put a seal around it, and then say, oh my God, look at that. I forgot that, or I didn't fix that. Okay. For a sealer, what I do to seal these, most of the time I just put Mod Podge or a varnish spray over them once they're completely dry. Okay. Um, if in fact you don't have anything like that, you can. I say this in all my videos. That's why I'm chuckling. I had hairspray, which is kind of a lacquer, and one of the cans of hairspray even said lacquer. So hairspray lacquer, and if you don't have Mod Podge or something to seal these with afterwards, spray some very cheap hairspray on them, and you will find that it does just as good a job as if you actually put an expensive kind of varnish or a lacquer on it. Okay, so and actually, the other thing that I like to do to these, everyone who knows me will not be surprised by this. I like to bling them out a little bit. Um, so down in the art room here, which is where I'm working, I have lots of sparkles and glue and all kinds of stuff like that. So, you can put, I also have like faux jewels and whatnot. So you can really bring out your work. Um, if in fact you don't have all that stuff at your disposal, and many people do not, you can use sparkling nail polish. There's always, I find there's always ways to get what you need. Um, so sparkly nail polish for you guys who, want to bling stuff out a little bit, and I think that's awesome that you do. Um, Wife, girlfriend, ask them. Say, look, you have any sparkling nail polish that maybe, they use for New Year's Eve. And actually, just a clear nail polish will give it a little bit of a glaze to it without adding any color to it at all. Okay, and that's always fun to use as well. Okay, so I'm going to take my little guy over here and add one little white dot right there because it's going to look like an empty space if I don't. So there we have it. Now I have to tell you, this is looking pretty amazing to me. Um, so at this point, if you say, wow, that it actually is amazing, I think I'll call it done. That would be okay. You can call it done whenever the heck you want to. And I think that it looks good with just the 3 rows on it, but I'm inclined to put the other row of red on there. So, and these are small dots, all right, or at least a lot smaller than the whites, certainly. So, and they're actually the smallest dots that are on there. So, if you're so inclined, go ahead and put the 4th row of dots on there. If you're not so inclined, top dots. See these top dots? Okay, so these um these darker these darker pink dots in here, I'm going to use the light pink and actually add a little bit more white to it actually, so that I end up with an even lighter pink because I put it on there, and even though I like it, I think it would show up more if I make the pink even lighter still. Okay, so I'm going to add some white to that. Okay, let's clean that off. Okay, and I'm going to use a little bit bigger. So the dot that you're going to top dot, take a tool and make sure it's smaller than what you're going to top dot because You absolutely want to be able to see the dot underneath. Okay, so um, not sure that I can quite pick this up yet, but see if you can see the light pink on top of the darker pink. So that's what top dotting is. So I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of these because I actually, like I said, I enjoy doing. I love the way they look, and I like doing them. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Voila. Okay. And again, you can put the fourth row of dots in it. I'm on the fence about it because I kind of like it the way that it is. Right? I think the fourth row is going to be too much for me. So I may not do that. Okay, I'm going to fix this little white guy here. Because again, fix them when you see them. Okay, that looks good there. Um, so these I'm going to take and top dot these little white dots in here. And again, I'm going, they have light pink on them. Maybe I'll put the red in there. Well, let me try a small pink dot. See what that looks like. And I'm also going to try a little red dot and see what that looks like. See which one I like better. Well, that's it. I like the red ones better. So we know what's happening now. Okay. Ugh. So if this paint gets, like I said, it dries out quite quickly. Okay. So I like the little red dots in there. So the little red dots are on top of the white dots. And now every other one, I'm going to do the light pink. Again, my paint is getting a teensy bit globby here. So I'm going to be careful not put too much on here. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. All right, now these bigger pinks, we can put reds on them, and we can put white on them. I'm going to go with the light pink because I actually like the way that looks. So let's go light pink. Okay, and again, feel free to experiment and play around. Okay, and I have some students who actually will use two, like almost a variegated look. So they would dip like in the pink and in the white at the same time, so that when they actually leave a dot, it has some of the same, it has some of the white and some of the pinks in there. So they have done that as well. So absolutely, you get an idea and you want to try it out. The worst thing that can happen is that you don't like it, so you either wipe it off or let it dry and then dot over it again. Okay, so don't be afraid to experiment a little bit. Okay, so these little white dots, yeah, not sure, but I like what's going on there. So let's go ahead and fix them. And they are easy enough to fix. Okay, I like it. So that middle pink dot has a white dot on it as well. So I was going to use this tool, but I think I'll go a little bit bigger. So I'm talking about this big pink dot in the middle. It actually has a white top dot on it. So you could use a white top dot. You could use a red one or a pink one. Let's see, dirty tool here. How do I do that? Okay, make sure those guys are clean because what ends up happening is if you let the paint dry on these, then you won't get a flat dot. You'll get one that has texture on it, which you probably will not like. Okay, so I'm going to put white, middle dot. Oh, look, it looks beauteous. All right, so that middle top dot is big enough that after it dries, I could even put a second top dot on there. Okay, okay, these reds, going to redot some of them, and these reds have white top dots on them as well. And in your handout, you're going to see very small little red top dots on there. I am going to put bigger top dots on there. And the reason that I think that they made them so small so it doesn't overpower, there's a lot of white on them already. So even though I agree with the effect, I think I'm still going to go just a little bit bigger, okay, and put my top dots on like that. Okay, so this, because I put more red on it, needs to dry out a little bit more. You can put, let me see, let me clean this off. I think what I would like to do while I'm doing this is I've already top dotted the dark pinks with the light pinks. Now I'm wondering about a little dot of white on there, which I actually like. So again, don't be afraid to experiment a little bit because if I did not like it, I would just let it dry and just top dot right over it again. Okay, so you do have a little room to play around here. So especially, if they're dry, if they're wet, then the paint might merge and mix a little bit. You'd have a harder time with it. But I'm kind of liking those white top dots over there. And I may even want to do these little babies down here. So you thought I was kidding when I said I like to top dot everything. And I wasn't. Ta-da! Ah, look. Let me get it in close without messing everything up. Okay. Wait a minute. You see my little pink and white spots over there? Okay. So um, let this dry really good. Okay. And then maybe I can put my white top down on here. Clean off your tools. I know I keep saying it. Make sure you do it. Don't ruin your tools, homemade or not. Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna finish putting these white top dots on my red. Okay. This might be a little too wet to do. Okay, so let's dry out the white ones just a little bit, and let's kind of pause for a few seconds here. And then through the magic of technology. So what I did here is I actually got my little fan and I'm just kind of drying out my red dots and looking at some of the other dots because I'm looking here and I think this one could use it. So what I'm doing now is I'm just kind of looking at everything and making sure that if I have any really light dots, okay, because some of my white dots are pretty light here. So just kind of looking at them. And these dots could always be top dotted as well, okay? So let's see here, which one am I using for this guy? Okay, so I'm still kind of drying my red dots here because I actually put lots and lots of paint on them. And then once they're dry, you can top dot them. Right, and I'm using again quite a bit of paint here. Okay, all right. So let me show you what I have. Okay, and this is my finished piece. Okay, this is my finished piece. And like I said, if you have some sparkles you want to put on there, maybe you want to put your honey's name over there. So use your imagination and make it your own, make it your own special piece. So this is what we kind of took it from, and this is what we ended up with. You can put little red dots around here, and then you can start all over again. You can put red, pink, white, and you can bring this border in. But I really, really am liking it, and it took me a long time to figure it out. But I finally realized when you like something, Joan, stop. Because the tendency is to actually kind of overwork them. So don't overwork them. Get your brush and clean off these little dark areas. I have a few little things that I probably should clean up, and I'm going to use like a really small brush. You could actually use a marker as well if you wanted to. I like looking for the smallest brush I have because I actually see something I did not see before. So my black paint is here. I'm going to put it right in there, clean off the excess so they don't make a mess. And like I said, I have some kind of little red dots on here. So you might not be able to see them in the video, but even though they're on the really small side, I can see them. So that being the case, you definitely would like to fix them. Okay, I have a little white spot over here. Here's another little red speck over here. Okay, so when you're doing your touch-ups, be really careful. Don't make a mess. Okay, so you here I have a spot over here, which is really weird. I don't remember doing that at all. So with this particular spot, I actually am just painting black in between those two dots because they were kind of merged together. There's a few little white spots here. Then take a look on the inside and see if there's anything there that needs to be fixed. I actually have a teensy little red spot right there. And like I said, I I actually do not remember doing that. There's a little dot in here. So So I'm gonna call this guy finished, okay? And when you do yours, if you would send me pictures of your work, things that you did, whether it's this tutorial or a different tutorial, I would love, love, love to see them. Okay, so let me make sure, put that brush in the water and do some good cleanup work. Okay, this is just what I put in here is just a cover or a fine brush. It just covers the bristles and so that they don't kind of go every which way. Okay, so I'm going to take all my dotting tools and put them in water, even though I was kind of cleaning them as I went along. I can see where I kind of missed some over here. So I always want to just kind of make sure that they're really clean. Like I say, acrylic paints do stain when they're dry. So if in fact, you get them on your clothes or on your table or on your floor, unless you have an art table like this one, you're probably going to want to clean it, keep it clean. Let me see. I have another piece over here. Okay, and I actually tried to clean them when I see them. Is always a good idea. Okay, when you're not using your paint, absolutely cover it. Okay, so here's this, and remembering what you did with the cover is extremely helpful. Okay, I found it. Okay, so I'm gonna cover this baby up so it doesn't dry out. I am going to show you my masterpiece. Like I said, it's been a while since I've done a dotted mandala, and I've done several. Okay, but this is a nice piece. Very pretty, very pretty. Okay, and so again, this is what we took it from. This is how we ended up. And oops. And don't you think this one's better? I absolutely do. I'm my own best fan. Okay, so that's them. All right. So I always want to say thank you to the amazing Bethany at Drake Council on Aging, who actually inspired this whole series of tutorials. And it is made possible by the generosity of the Friends of the Drake Elderly, the Drake Cultural Council, and like I said, they're awesomely willing to share. As people of some people are still home, still home, and I mean everyone's comfort zone is a little bit different. Some people are out and about, and some still aren't. So these tutorials, get your friends, do them on Zoom. If you have a little bubble that you're comfortable with, have some friends over and do them together and whatnot. If you have questions, call me. It's like, okay, how did you do this? How do I fix this? Call me. Joni, 978-807-7608. I screen my calls. Leave me a message. Hello, this is so and so. Good time to call me back is Tuesday at 3 a.m. No, not 3 a.m. I'm not up at 3 a.m. At least not most of the time. So, I do screen. So leave me a message. Tell me when's a good day and time to call you back. And you can even tell me why. You can say, well, gee, I had problems doing this, or I want to know how you mix that color, or how you blah, 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 blah. Whatever it might be, my darlings. Okay. And I would love to see you finish pieces. Take pictures if you would like to, and you can text them to that same number, 978-807-7608. And let me see your pictures. Let me see what you're doing over there. Tell me if you enjoyed them. Tell me what you'd like to see more of, okay? Because I have about 3 more tutorials that I'm going to do here for this session, which are excuse me, going to be pictures. And this one picture I've done with a student, and I'm very excited about it. I love, love, love the colors that are in it. We have some birch trees coming up. And where's the other one? We have it's another tree picture that you will absolutely love. Ah, look it. This isn't, where did I put this? Look what I did to the back of it. Okay, so I will fix the back of it. And so we have a couple more tutorials, three more tutorials coming up for you. So look at your newsletter and spread the word. And I will once again tell you that even though the center, the Drake Council on Aging on Mammoth Road in Drake, it is still being renovated. We are running classes at the Christ Church United, 10 Arlington Street, Drake and Mass. They are giving, they were using this room that it has plenty of room if you want a distance. It's a very big room. It has lots of windows. It's perfect for an art class. It has a sink, so if we need to wash and clean our brushes, it's right there, and the putty room is close by. It's a perfect spot, actually. Okay, so we're doing classes on Friday mornings at 11 o'clock until 12:30 in the afternoon. The classes cost $10 a piece, so they're very reasonable. And I hope you join us. When we're all there, there's only about six of us. Oh, look what I did. It's only about six of us. So we have plenty of room. Come and join us. And everyone there has, no, no, they're not only students, they're friends. You'll absolutely love them. Okay? Until next time, my friends, be legendary. Bye for now.